My first Draw My Life was a ride of ups and downs. From childbirth to the early stages of Zen Dragon, it covered my adventures and struggles. And it showed how my passion for martial arts gave me the drive to overcome difficult circumstances and eventually share that passion online to inspire and motivate subscribers and followers around the world. If you've yet to watch my first Draw My Life, you can either start with that one or check it out later. I'll leave a link to it on screen at the end of this video. But before we get to all the exciting things which happened after that first Draw My Life, let's revisit one of its moments.
I'm 29 years old, and for the first time in my life, what I want is security. My priorities are these: get a full-time job, get an apartment, become a father. Let's move on a bit again. A month before turning 30, those goals look further than ever. My relationship has crashed. I have applied for countless full-time positions, but have gotten none. On top of that, I'm no longer a student, which means I'll get kicked out of my dorm.
This video is the story of how I realized those goals, the birth of a non-profit philanthropic project, as well as some of the crazy moments I've had on this channel.
And he wanted to send me something. Let's see what's inside. A dragon. And it's in the Zen Dragon colors as well. Damn, that's cool.
So how did I go from being homeless, at least on paper, while sleeping in my dad's rundown apartment, to now living in a 3-bedroom apartment with an added training/laundry room in the basement? I stayed at my dad's apartment for about 2 years, saving every penny I could. During this time, I stopped living in the moment. I had to think ahead to keep going, so I could build a future for myself. I was constantly saving up money for a place of my own, and training to grow stronger and improve upon my skill set. During this time, I was only able to get part-time jobs for limited periods of time. So, although my savings were growing each month and I spent almost none of my income, there was no bank willing to offer me a mortgage loan. It was frustrating living for minimal costs, being unable to go eat with friends or anything else which cost money, while having saved up a small fortune, just sitting there waiting, but not enough to buy an apartment in cash. So I had to keep on going. Around this time, my brother devised a plan which would propel me forward. Simply put, I'd transfer all my savings to his bank account. That way the money was serving a purpose in ridding him of debt on his mortgage. To return the favor, my brother would not only transfer my money back once I needed them, he would lend me the same amount of money which I had transferred to his account. That way I could afford a cheap 1-room apartment once we found it. We both kept our eyes open, and finally we found an affordable 1-room apartment and laid the money down. The apartment required lots of work, but I had a place of my own and started gradually paying back what I owed to my brother. Then I met my girlfriend Anna across the street. Not only that, but it turned out that she also worked as a caretaker for my mom. Still not sure whether that came down to fate or coincidence. Anna's personality was like a perfect match. She's chill, kind, and spiritual. She also helped me record a lot of the videos of that era in Zen Dragon history. The more I got to know her, the more blessed I felt to have met her. Eventually, we moved in together. With the old apartment empty, I was able to rent it out, which helped me pay back the money to my brother even quicker. It wasn't easy, but within the first year, I managed to pay back everything I owed to my brother. Essentially, I had no mortgage left for the apartment. What a feeling. At this point, I felt truly blessed. I'd found a soulmate in Anna, was still training and sharing my passion for martial arts, and Zen Dragon was gradually growing more and more, partially due to my first viral video. The only thing missing was a steady full-time job, and eventually I landed one as a teacher/pedagogue at a place called Kvisten. Some time later, I earned my black sash in Kung Fu after about 9 years of consistent training. The black belt test involved full contact sparring with 2 to 4 opponents and other challenges, including the heat, as it turned out to be a warm, sunny day. This remains one of the more intense and challenging experiences on my martial arts journey. Sifu Cristiano de Simone, a longtime fan of Zen Dragon, invited me to come visit him in Italy. And since me and Anna were already thinking about traveling, we decided to go to experience Rome, Napoli and the island Procida. In Napoli I had some unique martial arts experiences, all of them documented in the video: weapon sparring, acro yoga and watermelons. Napoli, Procida, Roma. Why do I always come up with such long titles? At one point on the trip, I did a Kung Fu vs Capoeira sparring video. You may have seen it. This one I got accidentally poked in the eye. The next couple of days, this injury got gradually worse. I was extremely sensitive to light, and walking outside in the sun, even while covering my eye, was painful to endure. Luckily, I got some eye drops, which helped, and I was healed just in time for my planned meeting with the Vesuvian Sheeps, a Napoli-based full-contact weapon sparring group run by my friend Cristiano de Simone. This was the first time I got to spar with Kung Fu polearms, as well as with Tonfa and Tomahawk. Not only did it make for some cool YouTube content, I also learned a lot from the experience. Another kind of surreal moment on this trip was receiving the award of Best Master/Best Fighter at the Town Hall in Napoli. Unfortunately, neither my girlfriend nor I are anywhere near fluent in Italian, but from what I understood, I won the award alongside other masters in martial arts and different fields for not only my journey in martial arts, but for sharing it as well with the project Zen Dragon. Besides all this, the trip was a romantic experience with lasting memories. For a while, Anna and I had been looking for a way to make a positive impact by combining her passion for yoga with mine for martial arts. Eventually, we came up with the philanthropy project Medgang, a rarely used Danish word meaning positive momentum. To start out with, the idea was to offer free training sessions for people with special needs or difficulty getting the chance to train otherwise. But this wasn't our only idea. We knew there would be many ways for us to make a positive impact and empower others. My girlfriend and I are not rich, so we needed to do this without any notable expenses. We were able to get a free indoor training facility at a local library. Later on, we came up with the idea for a product which would promote gratitude, reminding us to be grateful for access to clean beverages. The proceeds from this product get donated to the Ugandan Water Project. The rest goes to our partner, Teespring. I'll leave a link in the description for those interested in buying one. Anna and I embarked upon a backpacking adventure around the end of 2017 and the start of 2018. We traveled from Denmark to Thailand to Cambodia, and from Cambodia to Thailand to Denmark. We got to experience many contrasts on this trip. During the trip, a Zen Dragon Instagram follower reached out with a DM. This man was a Taekwondo instructor who was part of a project in Honduras offering free Taekwondo training for youths in the capital as long as they performed well in school. The mission of this project was to keep the youths off the streets while teaching them something to boost their confidence and motivate them to stay in school and build a future for themselves. The project lacked funding and risked losing the dojo where the youths were training. Knowing I had a following on social media, the guy asked me for advice on how to get a sponsorship deal. Unfortunately, I had no experience with sponsorships, but while trying to think of something helpful to say, I suddenly had an idea. Medgang could help sponsor the project. I decided to donate 600 crowns per month. Not much to run a Taekwondo school, but in Honduras you can buy more for 600 crowns than you'd be able to in Denmark. Why 600 crowns specifically? Well, that amount was the same as my average earnings per month from AdSense on YouTube. So in that sense, it felt like a sustainable amount to donate. To make sure the monthly donation went into the project, we came up with an arrangement where he would send us the receipts and sometimes document the training with recordings like this one.
Chariot! Quiñe. Michelle, saludo con la mano derecha.
Hola Michael, hola Ana.
Digan hola.
Hola. Thank you.
Digan thank you.
Thank you.
Eventually, we ended the monthly donations. But at this point, the project was doing well and it is still running to this date. Guillermo, aka GMONCADA2705_TKD, remains an online friend and I hope we meet one day. I greatly respect how he's used martial arts as a way to overcome struggles in his life and as a way to positively impact the youth. While in Cambodia, I got to train with a Bokator master at Mr. Lee Gym and record a video to shine a spotlight on the ancient Khmer art. I have since received many comments from people from Cambodia thanking me for making those videos, as well as some from people who'd never heard of Bokator until they saw the video. Shout out to Brooklyn Monk and his YouTube series Martial Arts Odyssey. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't even have known that there was an art called Bokator. On this trip, Anna and I encountered a dangerous situation, but survived it with a story to tell. I won't go into details, but the whole incident and our overall 5-week adventure in Cambodia/Thailand is shared in this vlog. I'll leave a link to it in the description. While training Kung Fu, I met a lot of martial artists from various backgrounds and got to pick their brains. I also learned some additional techniques besides what I knew from Kung Fu. But I always knew that as a protector, I needed to eventually train something focused entirely on self-defense. At this point, I felt the time was right to start training Krav Maga. This meant I had to leave the Kwoon where my martial arts training had begun. I would have loved to have trained both places, but sometimes there's just not enough time. That said, I still practice Kung Fu on my own. Krav Maga sometimes gets a bad rep, as there's a lot of fake Krav Maga being taught out there. But I can fully endorse the brand of Krav Maga I was trained in. What stands out the most to me were the training methods, including some chaotic sparring drills involving multiple attackers, weapons and surprise elements. I learned some stuff, but also got injured quite frequently. So on the technical side of things, I didn't learn enough for it to truly influence my style of fighting. But my tactical awareness expanded and I got a lot out of the simulated chaos. Sparring felt less like a game of skill and more like an unpredictable game of survival. Around this time, Anna and I had already talked about wanting to become parents at some point in the future. Having paid off the mortgage on my old one-room apartment, I decided to sell it, and combined with what Anna had already saved up, we were able to get a mortgage on a 3-room apartment with an extra basement room available for rent. We turned half the laundry room into a martial arts/yoga training room. With a little help from my friend Damien, who's also a martial arts YouTuber, check out his channel Monkey Fist. Towards the end of 2018, I got the chance to collab with Nick Grosses, who's not only a world famous YouTuber and self-defense expert, but also someone who's been a major source of inspiration for me. For one, Nick influenced the way I view self-defense, but I also relate to his journey, having had to overcome many obstacles in his life, and the way he shared his passion and knowledge via online videos was one of several inspirations when I came up with Zen Dragon. We have since collabed a few more times, but it's very encouraging to realize that I am now peers with many of those who inspired me early on to start Zen Dragon. Hopefully I get to collab with more of the people who inspired me early on. Both Shane Faison and Kong Lei follow Zen Dragon on Instagram, so who knows. Shane is probably my biggest YouTube inspiration, and Kong Lei inspired me to try to set up my kung fu kicks with boxing punches. Of course, that works with animal style techniques as well.
Another
hard strike, so this, an animal claw strike followed by a tornado kick connecting at the end. At this point in the video, my life has already changed radically, but by far the most significant and important change is one I've yet to mention. One morning, I woke up to the sound of Anna's voice. She was calling from the living room while lying on the floor as she was very dizzy. She showed me a pregnancy test and the result was clear. Our lives would forever change. The next day, we boarded a plane with Anna's parents for Tenerife. It just so happened we'd planned a vacation with her parents, not knowing Anna would be pregnant at the time. Upon our arrival in Tenerife, we broke the news. I felt truly blessed that I was going to become a father. But around this time, something happened that completely changed the way I view YouTube and social media in general. One day, without explanation, Zen Dragon was gone from YouTube. The channel and all of its content had been terminated. Several years of consistent and passionately dedicated work, essentially my life's work, all gone in an instant. I was in a state of shock and filed an appeal rather quickly. I figured that it was a matter of notifying someone at YouTube of the situation, that once my channel and appeal was reviewed, the mistake would be corrected. I waited eagerly for a response, but I was shocked when I received a seemingly auto-generated response rejecting my appeal. I wrote a second appeal specifying the community guidelines and how my content and overall behavior on the platform was in accordance with these guidelines. This effort proved fruitless as I simply received a new auto-generated email declaring that since my initial appeal had already been rejected, I should accept the decision and no longer try to appeal it. I was unable to log on to my Google account, so I couldn't post any YouTube comments to get the word out that my channel was gone. Thankfully, I had also used Instagram and Facebook as platforms for Zen Dragon content, so I was able to use these platforms to inform some of my audience of the situation. During this time, I received support from both fans of this channel and other YouTubers. This was the most mentally challenging situation I faced as a content creator. There's a wise saying, accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I simply did not know the difference. How could I? My efforts to get the channel back simply resulted in further frustration, as none of these efforts were working. I was contemplating whether the time had come to accept the situation when I received a DM from the YouTube legend Kicker. He told me to contact someone on Twitter, so I created a Twitter account, and after some back and forth communication, I got in touch with the right person at YouTube. He realized the mistake and was able to restore the Zen Dragon YouTube channel with all of its content. I learned a big lesson from this experience. Social media provides a platform for people to chase their passion, to hustle hard and potentially realize some major dreams. Depending on how hard and smart you work towards your goals, the sky's the limit. But at the same time, all of that work can be taken away in an instant, sometimes without warning or explanation. I was never told why my channel was deleted, but I am relieved and very thankful that it wasn't all lost, both for personal reasons and for anyone who's ever benefited from my content. Not to mention all those who will continually be able to watch the content in the future. Someday when my now born son is older, I plan on showing him this video. And if he wants to watch more content, there's a whole library for him to explore. After having trained Krav Maga for some time, I decided to learn some BJJ. So I started training at an MMA gym called Rumble Sports. This gave me the chance to also train kickboxing and MMA. I've trained all three arts, but focused mostly on Nogi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The sea of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is vast, but at least I can swim now. The bigger fish can eat me alive, and even those fish get eaten by the sharks. But when I spar with land creatures not used to the ocean, I often manage to submit them if it goes to the ground. After a few months of training, I competed for the first time in Nogi Bjj. There's a video on this channel documenting my efforts to survive during the competition. I've gotten better since and will probably compete again in Nogi at some point, but I have no idea when. At this point I'd accomplished some of my dreams, but there were still a couple left. And in fact, that will probably never change. As a dreamer, I'll continually be dreaming up new dreams. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, a boyhood dream of mine was to become an action hero. And now I was about to live the experience as the lead character in Dragon's Skæbne or Fate of the Dragon, an action/sci-fi miniseries created by Breakzone Films. Breakzone Films had initially reached out to me way before Anna's pregnancy, so back then accepting the role was an easy choice. But more than half a year later, when it was time to start the recordings, there was a lot on my plate. On top of the pregnancy, my job was in a renegotiation phase. Good thing I didn't know of these circumstances when I was first offered the role. Otherwise, I might have felt I had to turn it down. All 5 episodes of the miniseries were recorded in 1 week, with recordings from early morning to late at night. The overall experience was both fun, challenging, and a major learning experience, and the memories will last with me. My job situation was resolved on set with a FaceTime meeting. If you wanna catch Dragon's Skæbne, the series is now available on the Breakzone Films YouTube channel with English subtitles. And if things go as planned, it will air locally on Danish television. Now that I tried kicking ass on screen, I would soon pursue another dream: to face an opponent in full contact kickboxing in front of a live crowd. Once again, my Zen Dragon project opened the door for a new experience in my life. I was contacted on Instagram by Strength by Martin, aka Martin Andersen. a bodybuilder and kickboxing coach from Sweden. His fighter Robin Ekström was looking to compete in a kickboxing ring. As a longtime follower of Zen Dragon, Martin had seen sparring videos on my channel which were recorded in an outdoor public Muay Thai ring. He was attracted to the venue and liked my fighting style, so he proposed the offer for a kickboxing fight. I knew this would be a major challenge and that I might get hurt, but I decided to face my fears and take on the challenge. Although I heard local fight fans in Sweden had been betting on me due to my social media profile, I knew I was the underdog going into the fight. Robin Ekström had been training specifically for the sport of kickboxing, while my training had been mixed with emphasis on kung fu weapons, grappling, self-defense, animal styles, forms, in addition to some kickboxing here and there. On top of this, Robin had a muscular build and outweighed me by 15 kilos, so this would be an open weight fight. For me, simply stepping up to face someone that much bigger for my first fight, it was already a moral victory. I wanted to be part of an entertaining fight, where I managed to showcase my kung fu kicks. I lost the fight, but went the distance, and not only that, I was getting better and better as the fight progressed, while my opponent was losing his gas tank.
Ta och ringa på den, känns inte ens. Kom igen nu!
Kom Mikael.
30 kvar, kör vi! Kör vi!
That said, he won fair and square, so kudos to Robin. I learned a lot from the fight itself, and perhaps even more from the weeks leading up to it, where I had to prepare mentally and physically and balance a hectic time in my life with training for the fight. Since then, I've fought a few more times and both tasted victory and defeat. But fighting, even at an amateur level, can be dangerous, so in the future there may be one final fight for me left, but otherwise I'll stick to sparring to stay sharp and test myself. And hopefully the need to protect myself or others won't force me to fight. This video is approaching its end, and it's going to end on a high note, as there's one more special moment left to share. Late at night, the water broke. We called the hospital and were told to wait. We waited until we could no longer wait and took a cab to get to the hospital. When we arrived, there was no more time to wait. It was a stressful situation, but Anna remained focused and positive. Well, so did I, but you know, that's not as impressive, as all that was needed of me was to try to make myself useful. Meanwhile, Anna was doing all the work, giving birth. Seeing our son for the first time was a pretty special moment. But the greatest gift is to watch him grow and develop, while the mutual bond between us three becomes stronger and stronger. We named him Felix, which means happiness. We hope he'll seek happiness in life and spread it to others as well. Whatever path he chooses, I want him to follow his passions and approach the journey without perfection. As this video comes to an end, I know that life will continually have many more exciting chapters in store for me. But both this video and the previous one took a lot of work to create. I do not plan on creating any more Draw My Life videos, but I'm very happy to have completed this one. I know the first Draw My Life inspired a lot of people, and I hope this one will do the same. So much has happened in between those two videos that I felt this one needed to be made. Thanks for watching. And a very special thanks to Jeremy Wilson, aka Jeremy the Animator, a talented young man sharing his unique visions via drawings and animations. Not only is he talented as an independent artist, he is also great at listening and finding creative solutions. So if you need an illustration or animation, hit him up. Who knows, perhaps you can figure something out. You can reach out to Jeremy or simply follow his work on Instagram and Facebook. Links to those pages will be in the description. And one more thing. After years of free content, the time has come where I need a helping hand from some of you. You can support me with $3 each month or 5 or 10 for a few extra benefits. Supporting Zen Dragon via Patreon will probably make no difference to you financially. If you're living hand to mouth, I don't want your money. Then I'd rather you keep them for yourself. Don't worry, I'll be alright. The donations are in place to help cover equipment and other expenses for the channel. Now that I'm also a father, it's more challenging than ever to find the time to create and share free content. But if enough of you support on Patreon, there will come a day where I can cut down my 9-to-5 job, either partially or altogether, which will make it sustainable to continue creating and sharing free content here on YouTube. Even if that does not happen, I'll still continue sharing, but possibly with longer breaks in between. Thanks for listening. Now visit my Patreon, that's patreon.com/ZenDragon. I greatly appreciate you for listening and for continually watching Zen Dragon.